Yo, what it is, YouTube? It's your boy Nitsa coming back with another bullseye of a tutorial here today on the channel. I wanted to go over how to mix pro ad-libs using only stock plugins. So let's go into it right away. This is kind of like a series that I have, just showing y'all a bunch of different, plugins that you guys can use to mix ad-libs. But I think most importantly too is I want you guys to understand that your DAW, your DAW that you're using probably already comes with some great stock plugins that can help you get a pro sound. Sometimes you don't always got to go outside of the to the third-party plugins because you might already have something right within your hands right at home that already sound good. So let's not waste no time. Let's jump right into this and let's get to playing some music. Let's go.
Close your eyes and say you wouldn't even have to do the time. Close your eyes and use your head and it's gonna be alright. I'm in prison waking up with content blue and white. I was living reckless, never was I living life. I was smoking gas, now they got me smoking spice. Time, never do it seem to count. Why? Cover loss cannot be found. Stress, let it get the best of me. I done lost 3 people in a year, I'm screaming rest in peace. I just wanna put my problem to the ceiling. Stay for everyone and then fuck all they feeling. With my money at with bills, tell her that I got it. Pull up in a brand new Benz, difference is I bought it. Niggas say I'm overrated.
All right, so that's what we kind of got here today. So very first thing that I want to do today with you guys is I just want to explain to you guys, understanding that the lead vocal was already in the place. So, essentially making a, song is kind of like building up a house. You got to get the foundation to be strong first. When people build houses, they don't be like, oh yeah, let's start putting the bedroom and the furniture in there first. They never do that. What they do is they get the foundation right. Then you build up the house. Then you build the walls and you build the room, then the bathroom, all that luxury stuff comes last. So that's what I always feel like, the lead vocal is kind of like the main support, the main anchor. And, I prioritize getting that right first, and then after that, we have the background vocal. So originally I had them on 2 tracks, but what I did here is I just put them on the same stereo track. You could also put them on a bus. Either way, what I like to do when I'm mixing the ad-libs is I like to make sure that as I'm doing the processing, like it's applied to both of them. So you could do that with an aux, or you can do it like this, where I took 2 mono tracks, dragged them down to a stereo track. You can do that too. So the very first thing that you got to understand with the ad-libs, the background vocals is, are they helping the music? Like even before, I do any processes, like as I'm listening to the raw tracks, I ask myself, is it helping the music? Is this giving us more, juice, more flavor? And also, you got to understand, you got to position the ad-libs using the volume. That's the first thing I usually use is the volume. So what a trick I do with the volume is I take it all the way to the quiet point and try to pull it up to where I feel like it feels good. And then I take it all the way up to the loudest point and try to pull it to see if I kind of get into that same range, that same ballpark, so that's a part of how you can help yourself too, is the actual leveling. So let's do that right now.
Close your eyes and use your head and it's gonna be alright. I'm in prison waking up with content blue and white. I was living reckless, never was I living life. I was smoking gas, now they got me smoking spice. Time, never do it seem to count. Why? Cover loss cannot be found. Stress, let it get the best of me. I done lost 3 people in a year, I'm screaming rest in peace.
So as you guys could kind of see right there, very first thing that we did out the gate is just, really just leveling it. And leveling is a very, very important thing. If you can do the simple stuff like leveling, just making sure everything is at the right volume, nothing is poking out too much like a hair or nothing like that. That's already like you helping yourself. So you got to understand the level as well. Next thing, let's just go ahead and start mixing out these, with these type of videos that I do specifically, I like to just mix and then I talk after. So that's what we're going to do. So let's get right into it. Let's catch the vibe. So the vibe always very important when you're mixing, always prioritize that first. How is this making you feel? If the background vocals, the ad-libs ain't making you feel good, well, they gotta go. They cutting out, you feel me? They gotta go. You can't be too personal about that stuff. So let's go. Let's just start mixing. Let's go. Let's do it.
Close your eyes and use your head and it's gonna be alright. I'm in prison waking up with content blue and white. I was living reckless, never was I living life. I was smoking gas, now they got me smoking spice. Time, never do it seem to count. Why? Cover loss cannot be found. Stress, let it get the best of me. I done lost 3 people in a year, I'm screaming rest in peace. I just wanna put my problem to the ceiling. Stay for everyone and then fuck all they feeling. Where my money at with bills, tell her that I got it. Pull up in a brand new Benz, difference is I bought it. Niggas say I'm overrated, overestimated. Damn bro, if I make it, I'ma laugh at everyone who hated. Remember getting faded, then I remember all them times I faded. Why he saucing me, ain't no sorry, they're not tolerated. I was in the set, I lost 2 niggas and my cousin. My little dog be wildin' really cause they came from nothing. All they know is that they see a art, they gon' start bustin'. All they know is robbing, doing fraud forever. Close your eyes and use your head and it's gon' be alright. I'm in prison waking up with constant blue and white. I was living reckless, never was I living life. I was smoking gas, now they got me smoking spice. Time, never do it, seen the count. Why? Cover loss cannot be found. Stress, let it get the best of me. I done lost 3 people in the year, I'm screaming rest in peace. I just wanna put my problem to the ceiling. Stay for everyone and then fuck all they feeling. Where my money at with bills, tell her that I got it. Pull up in a brand new Benz, difference is I bought it. Niggas say I'm overrated, overestimated. Damn bro, if I make it, I'ma laugh at everyone who hated. Remember getting faded, then I remember all them times I faded. Why he saucing me, ain't no sorry, they're not tolerated. I was in the set, I lost 2 niggas.
All right, so far what I've been doing is I'm just playing around with some basic EQ. It's very interesting that Avid EQ1, if you guys are using Pro Tools, this kind of has like a different sound from this EQ as well. So this is like my basic filtering. I'm kind of just positioning it. And you got to understand too with the slope, when you see something like 6 dB octave or just in general, you know, the depending on the octave, the Q of the filter, that's pretty important because not all of the low end is completely being rolled off. Even though it says 513, like, you know, for every octave, you know, it's cutting out 6 dB pretty much. So still, like, there's still a lot of meat on the bone. There's still a lot of meat on the chicken, you know, pretty much. So we're not really cutting off everything, but a 6 dB octave I like. You know, as you see, I auditioned it. You know, I made the slope steeper at some point. That will make the low end a little bit more abrupt. But what I did right here is I just used 6 dB octave because it's very smooth. So understanding like the slope of the filter is pretty important. Then my next layer of kind of like EQ. So in the beginning, I'm always doing a little EQ just to position it for the most part. And then after that, you know, we did a little bit more filtering. The slope was a little bit more steeper. So I'm just really kind of shaping that ball of clay, the Adlibs. And then after that, you know, I went for the mid range, cut it out a little bit, and then I did boost it up the top shelf right here. Sometimes I will roll off like with a low pass, you know, to make it sound darker. But that's what I always say. You got to understand, you know, what are these Adlibs doing? You know, in a situation like this, it's more sound like ends where it's supporting the vocal and not necessarily coming in where the vocal isn't there. So I'm kind of going for a little bit of brightness, kind of like a little mainstream type of sound. And then let's keep going. Let's move on to like kind of like the dynamics processing situation. I got a de-esser here. Maybe if I want to use it, I will. And I also got a regular compressor here. So let's kind of see what I end up with, coming up with.
Close your eyes and use your head and it's gonna be alright. I'm in prison waking up with constant blue and white. I was living reckless, never was I living life. I was smoking gas, now they got me smoking spice. Time, never do it, seen the count. Why? Cover loss cannot be found. Stress, let it get the best of me. I done lost 3 people in the year, I'm screaming rest in peace. I just wanna put my problem to the ceiling. Stay for everyone and then fuck all they feeling. Where my money at with bills, tell her that I got it. Pull up in a brand new Benz, difference is I bought it. Niggas say I'm overrated, overestimated. Damn bro, if I make it, I'ma laugh at everyone who hated. Remember getting faded, then I remember all them times I faded. Why he saucing me, ain't no sorry, they're not tolerated. I was in the set, I lost 2 niggas and my cousin. My little dog be wildin' really cause they came from nothing. All they knew is close your eyes and use your head and it's gonna be alright. I'm in prison waking up with constant blue and white. I was living reckless, never was I living life. I was smoking gas, now they got me smoking spice. Time, never do it, seen the count. Why? Cover loss cannot be found. Stress, let it get the best of me. I done lost 3 people in the year, I'm screaming rest in peace. I just wanna put my problem to the ceiling. Stay for everyone and then fuck all they feeling. Where my money at with bills, tell her that I got it. Pull up in a brand new Benz. Close your eyes and use your head and it's gonna be alright. I'm in prison waking up with constant blue and white. I was living reckless, never was I living life. I was smoking gas, now they got me smoking spice. Time, never do it seem to count. Why? Cover loss cannot be found. Stress, let it get the best of me. I done lost 3 people in a year, I'm screaming rest in peace. I just wanna put my problem to the ceiling. Stay for everyone and then fuck all they feeling. With my money at with bills, tell her that I got it. Pull up in a brand new Benz, difference is I bought it. Niggas say I'm overrated, overestimated. Damn bro, if I make it, I'ma laugh at everyone who hated. Remember getting faded, then I remember all them times I faded. Why he saucing me, ain't no sorry, that I tolerated. I was in the set, I lost 2 niggas and my cousin. My little dog be wildin' really cause they came from nothing. All they know is that they see a art, they gon' start bustin'. All they know is robbing.
All right, so pretty much what I did right here is I was using like a de-esser and a compressor together. So this is the kind of like a trick with the Avid type of filter. And this is something that I also talk about as well. Michael Brown likes to do is like EQing into the compression type of situation. So I'm using this boost and I'm hitting this de-esser really hard to kind of like shape the high end. So it's not like a static low pass. It's more like a kind of like, I would say like a dynamic low pass, because you have this boost right here from the vocal and this de-esser is kind of reacting to it. So this is like a trick that you can do too with like any type of, you know, just maybe like any regular EQ or any compressor or any de-esser. It really doesn't matter. But the main thing what I'm doing is I'm getting the top end to move rather than to close it by using something like a low pass. You know, that's just gonna like kind of sound like this. Is just gonna completely close. Like I don't want to completely close the sound. I want it to not be harsh, so I'm EQing into the de-esser, and pretty much what that's doing is it's kind of smoothing out the house, but it's still dynamic. It's still blue and white time, you know. So in a situation like this, if I want to do a little bit more on the top to smooth it out, I can. But you know, right now where I'm at with this one specifically is I started going into the stock compressor, and you got to understand that because most of my energy right now is still kind of in the high end. That's what I was pushing really hard. I used the higher ratio to just really starting to flatten out the you know, the background vocals, because sometimes you want the background vocals to be big and open and huge, but sometimes you want to flatten out so it can blend, and that's kind of what I want here. So you know, right now I'm doing very heavy compression just because it's background vocals. Sometimes I might do less, but in a situation like this I was kind of hearing to be a little bit heavy-handed with it. Sometimes I only do 1 to 2 dB. That would be more for like tonally shaping it, but here I want to use this kind of like as a utility for the compression. I want to, you know, the top peak of where the Adlibs is at, you know, if you can see right here too. You see kind of like the kind of like the most energy for the Adlibs. I kind of wanted to really like clamp down on it. That's kind of like right here towards the end time. And then he's kind of going up, you know, with his background vocals. So you have to also pay attention to that, like the rhythm, the words that they're saying, the amount of energy that the words that, you know, he's saying to determine the amount of compression. That's why I use the higher ratio. You know, a lower ratio will work on the whole signal. It will let you put more of your hand into the cookie jar, but a higher ratio, as soon as it sees like more of the signal, like the peak energy, it will react to like the tippity top of the signal. So let's keep going with kind of like our effects. All right, I'm gonna bypass everything in and out. And also what I did too is I panned it inside a little bit more. So it was kind of sounding good wide, but I started to pan it inside a little bit more just so it could like really hug and support the lead vocal. So as I'm processing this whole chain and everything like that, I'm getting to understanding like, okay, we got to get in where we fit in, you know, like how am I gonna make this, you know, these rooms inside of this house? That's what the Adlibs are. They're like the supporting cast, you know.
Close your eyes and use your head and it's gonna be alright. I'm in prison waking up with constant blue and white. I was living reckless, never was I living life. I was smoking gas, now they got me smoking spice. Time, never do it seem to count. Why? Cover loss cannot be found. Stress, let it get the best of me. I done lost 3 people in a year, I'm screaming rest in peace. I just wanna put my problem to the ceiling. Stay for everyone and then fuck all they feeling. With my money at with bills, tell her that I got it. Pull up in a brand new Benz, difference is I bought it. Niggas say I'm overrated, overestimated. Damn bro, if I make it, I'ma laugh at everyone who hated. Remember getting faded, then I remember all them times I faded. Why he saucing me, ain't no sorry, that I tolerated. I was in the set, I lost 2 niggas and my cousin. My little dog be wildin' really cause they came from nothing. All they know is that they see a art, they gon' start bustin'. All they know is robbing, doing fraud, forever thuggin', yeah. Why do things gotta change? Why it can't stay? Close your eyes and use your head and it's gonna be alright. I'm in prison waking up with constant blue and white. I was living reckless, never was I living life. I was smoking gas, now they got me smoking spice. Time, never do it seem to count. Why? Cover just wanna put my problem to the ceiling. Stay for everyone and then fuck all they feeling. With my money at with bills, tell her that I got it. Pull up in a brand new Benz, difference is I bought it. Niggas say I'm overrated, overestimated. Damn, bro, if I make it, I'ma laugh at everyone who hate it. Remember getting faded, then I remember all them times I faded. Why he saucing me, ain't no sorry, that not tolerated. I was in the set, I lost 2 niggas and my cousin. My little dog be wildin' really, cause they came from nothing. All they know is that they see a art, they gon' start bustin'. All they know is robbing, doing fraud, forever thuggin'. Why do things gotta change? Why it can't stay the same? Got a lot on my brain. Close your eyes and use your head and it's gon' be alright. I'm in prison waking up with constant blue and white. I was living reckless, never was I living life. I was smoking gas, now they got me smoking spice. Time, never do it seem to count. Why? Cover loss cannot be found. Stress, let it get.
All right, so right now what I'm doing is I'm kind of working on the delay. After listening to it, I kind of didn't like what the compressor was doing. A de-esser is still a compressor too, but I'm not going to go with that compressor just because it doesn't sound right. It doesn't sound right to me. So you got to do what sounds good. All right, so I was on my delay, and essentially what I was doing is these are like 2 quarter notes. I kind of like to use it like this where it's insert with the parallel mix knob, just due to the fact that, you know, it's like I don't have to create another aux, you know what I mean? And it's kind of like quicker for me. Usually, sometimes, if I want the signal to blend, what I will do is I will put them using the same, you know, I will share the reverb and I will share the delay with the lead vocal and the background vocals because I want them to all blend in. But kind of like right now, I kind of want to create a little bit of separation. You know, I don't want them to glue together. So I'm using a different type of delay, which is a stock delay from Pro Tools. So this is pretty interesting here because, you know, the groove is kind of like how you offset a little bit of the delay. And pay attention, I made this delay a little bit quieter than the right-hand side just due to the fact that the music is on the left-hand side. So you got to pay attention to like where the beat is at. You know, the like a lot of the activity is on the left-hand side. So I don't want to put the delay too much on the left-hand side. That's why I lowered it compared to the right-hand side. And the feedback is kind of the same. The low pass, everything's kind of the same really. But I really just like what this is doing. It's just adding a little bit of more bounce to this rhythm. And after that, I'm going to bring in something like a D-verb. And yeah, let's keep going.
Close your eyes and use your head and it's gon' be alright. I'm in prison waking up with constant blue and white. I was living reckless, never was I living life. I was smoking gas, now they got me smoking spice. Time, never do it seem to count. Why? Cover loss cannot be found. Stress, let it get the best of me. I done lost 3 people in the year, I'm screaming rest in peace. I just wanna put my problem to the ceiling. Stay for everyone and then fuck all they feeling. With my money at with bills, tell her that I got it. Pull up in a brand new Benz, difference is I bought it. Niggas say I'm overrated, overestimated. Damn, bro, if I make it, I'ma laugh at everyone who hate it. Remember getting faded, then I remember all them times I faded. Why he saucing me, ain't no sorry, that not tolerated. I was in the set, I lost 2 niggas and my cousin. My little dog be wildin' really, cause they came from nothing. All they know is that they see a art, they gon' start bustin'. All they know is robbing, doing fraud, forever thuggin'. Close your eyes and use your head and it's gon' be alright. I'm in prison waking up with constant blue and white. I was living reckless, never was I living life. I was smoking gas, now they got me smoking spice. Time, never do it seem to count. Why? Cover loss cannot be found. Stress, let it get the best of me. I done lost 3 people in the year, I'm screaming rest in peace. I just wanna put my problem to the ceiling. Stay for everyone and then fuck all they feeling. With my money at with bills, tell her that I got it. Pull up in a brand new Benz, difference is I bought it. Niggas say I'm overrated, overestimated. Damn, bro, if I make it, I'ma laugh at everyone who hate it. Remember getting faded, then I remember all them times I faded. Why he saucing me, ain't no sorry, that not tolerated. I was in the set, I lost 2 niggas and my cousin. My little dog be wildin' really, cause they came from nothing. All they know is that they see a art, they gon' start bustin'. All they know is robbing, doing fraud, forever thuggin'. Close your eyes and use your head and it's gon' be alright. I'm in prison waking up with constant blue and white. I was living reckless, never was I living life. I was smoking gas, now they got me smoking spice. Time, never do it seem to count. Why? Cover loss cannot be found. Close your eyes and use your head and it's gon' be alright. I'm in prison waking up with constant blue and white. I was living reckless, never was I living life. I was smoking gas, now they got me smoking spice. Time, never do it, seem to count. Why? Cover loss cannot be found. Stress, let it get the best of me. I done lost 3 people in a year, I'm screaming rest in peace. I just wanna put my problem to the ceiling. Stay for everyone and then fuck all they feeling. With my money at with bills, tell her that I got it. Pull up in a brand new Benz, difference is I bought it. Niggas say I'm overrated, overestimated. Damn bro, if I make it, I'ma laugh at everyone who hated. Remember getting faded, then I remember all them times I faded. Why he saucing me, ain't no sorry, that not tolerated. I was in the set, I lost 2 niggas and my cousin. My little dog be wildin' really cause it came from nothing. All they know is that they see a art, they gon' start bustin'. All they know is robbing, doing fraud, forever thuggin', yeah.
All right, so that looks like my camera kind of died, but let's wrap this up really quickly though. Last thing I want to do is that you kind of just hear that the Adlibs are coming together. You know, I started adjusting all of the effects and everything like that. I kind of like doing it like this, where it's like an insert, you know, just because it's a lot faster than using buses. Main thing about it too is that, you know, the flanger just kind of brings in a little bit of wobble. You hear me adjusting the reverb, just kind of hearing like, where does it sit? Sometimes you got to turn stuff all the way up to hear it. Then you see me playing around with the delay, the feedback, just making sure everything sits in right, making little adjustments. And the last thing that I like to do to my Adlibs, you know, is to use a little bit of parallel compression. So I use the Bomb Factory 76 right here. And let's just hear how I can just add a little bit of more of that pumping type of breathing type of feeling to the background vocals that help it just give it a little bit more time. So let's look at that.
Close your eyes and use your head and it's gonna be alright. I'm in prison waking up with constant blue and white. I was living reckless, never was I living life. I was smoking gas, now they got me smoking spice. Time, never do it, seem to count. Why? Cover loss cannot be found. Stress, let it get the best of me. I done lost 3 people in a year, I'm screaming rest in peace. I just wanna put my problem to the ceiling. Stay for everyone and then fuck all they feeling. With my money at with bills, tell her that I got it. Pull up in a brand new Benz, difference is I bought it. Niggas say I'm overrated, overestimated. Damn bro, if I make it, I'ma laugh at everyone who hated. Remember getting faded, then I remember all them times I faded. Why he saucing me, ain't no sorry, that not tolerated. I was in the set, I lost 2 niggas and my cousin. My little dog be wildin' really cause it came from nothing. All they know is that they see.
Woo! So you guys hear what's going on, man. You know, as you can pay attention, certain words have more energy than others. That's why the parallel compression acting a little bit harder than some other places. So I hope you guys was able to really learn something from this video. I felt like this was a very good video just due to the fact that I'm just showing you guys the process of, you know, how to mix Adlibs, bringing in the effects, you know, constantly having to adjust, having to go back and forth and listening. Is it helping the music and everything? So I just want to say thanks a lot for being a great part of my YouTube family. I really do appreciate you guys. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Peace.